Hi, I'm JD, and so welcome back. This is another video on my preparation for my upcoming backpacking trip. So I talked in my previous videos about cookware and my pack and everything. Today I'm going to talk about sleeping stuff, the tent. Okay, so I have a couple of sleeping bags. They're both mummy bags. So mummy bags are narrow, kind of like a coffin, I guess, and they have a hood. So it's very nice to keep your head warm at night. Okay, rather than a rectangular sleeping bag. So more like right-sided, left-sided. So I guess if you're going with your partner and you wanted to attach them together, you could look for a right-sided, left-sided one. Uh, but on this trip, I'm just going on my own. So in the off season, I don't compress them, so that's why it's in this loose bag. This is my heavier sleeping bag. This is the bottom. Okay, so again, for the trip, I need to check these things out, make sure the zippers work, there's no tears in them, they're not moldy. Okay, that's the last thing you want to find on your trip. But yeah, this is a thick one. I don't think I'm going to need it, but again, I'm going to check the weather before I go. But here, this is where the head goes. It has this part that cinches up. So that cinches up around my neck. So that's very nice because then my shoulders and everything down is kept warm. This covers my head. Okay, my face is here, but then I can breathe, right? And then I can cinch it down, like covering the top of my head and just having my face showing. This Velcro helps to kind of keep it closed so the zipper doesn't open while you move around in your sleep. And then it cinches around. There's another bolstering here. Okay, so it goes around your face. Okay, so very nice. There's a pocket here, but I don't usually use it, but you know. So yeah, mummy bag. This is my other sleeping bag. So this one is in its compression sack, and it's got two drawstrings, so you can kind of like cram it in. So this one I probably will take. It's also a mummy bag. I'll just quickly show you. So a lot thinner, okay, lighter, smaller. That other one is the one I would take. I did take tree planting actually. Yeah, I've had this for a while. At one point, one of these stopped holding, so I would cinch it up. But then in the middle of the night, air was getting in. So again, check all those things out. But otherwise, it's kind of similar to the other one. Okay, so lightweight, compact, takes up less space. To sleep on, this is my sleeping pad, sleeping mattress. It has its own case. I will take that just to kind of hold this together. Sometimes you don't need the cases. You don't need to bring them along. You really, if you can withdraw weight, cut down on weight anywhere, it's always a good idea. Every little bit counts. Okay, so I will take this. But this is what I'm currently using to sleep on. I have used Thermarest, and that was fine. That was good. I've used like the corrugated pads. Those I would sit on, or I would sleep on them. But I don't sleep well in general. I don't think I have for most of my life. So this is actually kind of important to me because I am always waking up. And so if you don't sleep well, then it's like if you do sleep well and you get well rested at night and you do your hikes during the day, then yeah, it's a much nicer trip. Okay, so this is worth investing. Investing into, but although this one actually wasn't that expensive. I took a long time trying to find something like this. It inflates about 4 inches thick, so that's nice, and it gets you off the ground. It has a pillow area with the valve. You have to make sure that it closes. So a few times I thought it was closed because I closed it, but you really have to click it closed because then I would wake up in the night and I'd be touching the ground. But that was really just because I didn't close it. But this end is the foot end. It looks very long, but actually when it inflates, it kind of shortens up. But it is a good length. But this end, the foot end, it has another valve, and this puffy part is actually a pump. And I put it on the tent floor, and I hold the valve open. And almost like doing CPR on the ground, not on my leg, but you just push it, and that lets air in, and it takes about 5 minutes to inflate the whole thing. But yeah, like it's 4 inches. It keeps me off the tent, or on the ground, off the tent floor, off the ground. So this has been great, actually. I'll put up a picture of the Amazon site where I bought it. But yeah, it wasn't too expensive. It has snaps, so I guess, again, if you have more than one and you're going with your special friend, you can attach your mattresses together, okay, at night. So that has been great. Okay, so the last thing I want to show you is my tent. So this is the tent I'm using right now. I guess I'll put a picture of where I got it. It's a 3-person tent though, so it's probably too big. A smaller tent, with less space to keep warm, so you'd be warmer. It'd probably be lighter. Like everything else, I have to test out my gear, so I gotta set it up. So that'll take me some time, but let me do that off camera, okay? So for me, it'll be like 10-20 minutes. For you, it'll be like an instant. So this is my tent, and I knew it would be too big, but now that I've set it up again, it's like ridiculously big. I had bought it to take my kids camping, and so it's a 3-person tent so that we could, the 3 of us, sleep in here and have our packs and everything. So that was comfortable. However, this is like way too big, like beyond what would be comfortable. So like I have to decide, do I really want to lug this tent around on this trip, knowing that it's way too big, or, do I just suck it up and buy a smaller one? But let me show you some of the things that I like about it. So first of all, the fly, the vestibule, when you, of course, you do the other side, but it does come out quite a bit, so you can store stuff, like some gear, outside of the tent, and not let it get rained on. The fly does come pretty close to the ground, so that's nice. You can have one side out and just have the other side sort of removable, so you can open and close it, and pin this down so it won't go anywhere. So now if I bring you inside, so some things I do like, it has a shelf up top, great for drying out things, great for putting a headlamp pointing down to illuminate the whole tent without having to hang it up. Each corner has a pocket, you can put stuff in, my phone, my glasses, okay, get it off the ground so I don't break them. What else? So there's one in each corner. Each end has a vent. You can't really see it from the inside, but that's important because, any tent, your body gives off moisture, and if it's not vented out, then to escape, then your stuff is just going to get wet, okay? Any tent. And then also behind me here, this is another zippered door. So there's a door on each side. So that is very nice to let air flow through. Okay, so if you're like me and you want an afternoon nap and it's a hot day, the air can go straight through, and you're sleeping in the shade of your own tent, but hopefully not boiling over like in a greenhouse or something. All right. I guess the other thing, it's a 2-wall tent, so it has this mesh for the tent part itself, and the yellow outer fly is water resistant. I always fantasized about sleeping, under the stars. So with the mesh, I guess I could do that, but haven't actually done that with this tent. But yeah, that would be something to think about. Maybe like undoing it and flopping it over to one side as I go to sleep, and then if it rains, I can quickly go outside and just like flip it back over top. So maybe that's something I'll do. All right, I guess it depends on the weather and also how clear it is, or if there's a full moon or something, that might be neat. Anyways, that's the inside. All right, so to wrap up this video, I just want to show you my list. This is based off last year's. Again, I haven't finalize it. But here's a general list of my gear. Okay. And then over in this column is the actual weight. So this is the sum of everything underneath it. And this is the number of kilograms each thing. Some of these I measured last year, so they may not be accurate. Got to double check. But yeah, so then I knew how much each individual thing weighed, and do I take it, do I not take it? I highlighted this one because I was unsure if I really wanted to take that. I mean, you can find phone chargers everywhere, and it does no good to you when you're out in camp. So, is that something that I don't take? But when you get into town, it's convenient to have one, right? My tarp was about a pound, okay, 455 grams. 1 year I took the hammock because of the kids, and I knew that they would like to lay out in the hammock when we were like in a camp where we weren't going to move. So, there was 3 of us, and so yeah, we lugged it out that year. Toilet paper, okay, don't forget that. Okay, this is that pump. Okay, the platypus. It's called Gravity Works. Okay, the saw I showed you that I put together. This over here is what I have in my first aid kit. Okay, Imodium. If you had diarrhea for some reason. Okay, some anti-inflammatory, anti-fever medications. Okay, first aid supplies. Okay, bug repellent. That bug net that would go over my cap. Okay, it's a good idea to have a whistle. You want an emergency blanket. These are the water tabs to chemically, sort of clean the water, if you would. Okay. Some optional things. Again, this is like last year's list. The kids and I would play cards. I like to make notes to myself, kind of like a journal. Maybe what I would do differently the following year, because I can't remember a year later. So it's a good idea to write it down. Okay, hacky sack's kind of fun. Okay, I wanted to do that with the kids. Usually I bring something to read. Okay, my clothing. Interesting here. It says, I guess I had 2 pairs of underwear last year. Okay. I had a list. This is my to-do list to make sure I got, I checked things before I went. But this is my weight. Okay, so I guess this was last year. I think I'm lighter actually this year, but how many pounds and the equivalent in kilograms, and then 20% of that is here. So 148 pounds, 20% of that would be just under 30 pounds. Okay, 25%. Okay, so this is usually my target here. Okay, and so you can see up here, I took the weight and I multiplied by 0.25, and that's how I got these. All right. So I hope you found that useful. I know it's kind of a long video, but there's lots of videos out there. So mine's not comprehensive, but I wanted to show you some, why I made certain choices over time and how I would change things as time went on. But I think you got a good sort of overview of the kind of gear that I want to take on my trip. So hopefully you find that helpful, and when you're planning your trip. And in my next video, I want to talk about food prep. All right, so stay tuned for that one, and I will see you then.